carving, I kind of start with a groove. I kind of either hear the beat in my head or I lay it down in my studio and then I start with the piano over it. So it kind of sounded, I wanted to make it sparse and hip and kind of laid back. I wanted it to convey, and then I started thinking about the story. And the story was, I like telling a story when I play and sing. And it was about a girl whose, husband, boyfriend, partner is coming home and she decides to make it a special evening. So
Mm.
she puts on her little black dress and she greets him at the door and he's like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And she said, "I have a nice dinner planned for us." And so it was kind of like, well, gee, what happens? He comes in, she gives him a kiss, hello. He goes and changes his clothes, whatever you guys do when you get home. And then they sit down and the evening progresses and who knows how long that little black dress stays on. So I kind of wanted it to be sort of a sultry um, dinner, relaxing, sensual evening. And the more I wrote it and the more Niels and I worked on it, I said, it seems like it needs a saxophone. So we contacted Steve Cole and he was all over it. And he just
I bet
did
he
a
was.
Oh, and I love
Oh,
his tone, and I love his, his ethic, and we went back and forth a few times, and there was the song, and I think, and Steve really got it. Steve really got the story, and I think he did a great job, and I think it tells the story.
does Lisa Addeo on Jazz 90.1. So Lisa, talk about something a lot of folks don't know. Liberace. So talk about that. That's a cool, such an amazing little tidbit. Well, most folks have seen him on television, but you have a different experience with Liberace.
I definitely have a different experience. So I was in grad school in LA, and I think his manager heard me play. I can't remember where, but one day I get this phone call from his assistant and said, "This is Liberace's manager, and we're wondering if you would like to play piano alongside Liberace at Radio City Music Hall for a month during his Easter show." I looked at the phone, I said, "Yes, please." I said, "What do I need to do?" And they said, "Do you know this on Slaughter on 10th Avenue?" And I didn't have it under my belt at the time, but I said, "Sure." I said, "I can play that." I had no idea. I'd never heard the song before. So, but it's like, of course. So I had two gigs back to back. I had like a 5 to 8, and this was after going to classes all day in grad school. So I had like a
Right.
5 to 8. I'd get in my car and I'd drive over to an 8:30 to 12. And so I got the music and it was like 12 or 14 pages. And I opened the first page and went, "Oh, this is so long. I'll do it tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow." And so I only learned like the first page. So they called and they said, "Are you ready?" I said, "Absolutely." And they said, "In 2 weeks, we want you to play it for us." So those next 2 weeks, I don't think I left the house. I sat at the piano and I just learned it and I memorized it. And and I showed up and Liberace listened to like 6 bars of it and said, "I want her. She comes with me." So we did. And we actually ended up playing that piece. And it was a fabulous experience. I learned so much from him. We sat I sat in the house in the theater during our rehearsal time, and he would pick out stuff in the theater. "Oh, no, put that over there and let's do this." He was working with his show producer, but it was his thumbprint on everything. And I mean, he was just so over the top on everything. And I learned how the audience just loved that because the audience knows when you give it your best. And
Hmm.
he definitely gave it his best. You know, and during the show, he would introduce me and he said, "Do you mind if I introduce you as being from New York City?" I said, "Dude, it's your show. You do whatever you want. Of course. I'm honored to be here." So it was a great experience. He was lovely to me. He followed, he wanted me to be booked with him in other places, Caesars, Tahoe, and Vegas when he was there. And it was just a fabulous experience. I learned a lot. And it was, I was very nervous I was going to make a mistake, when I was playing piano with him, but he was just so gracious and warming and welcoming. And it was a fabulous experience. It was like, whoa.
Wow. So, speaking of Lisa Addeo on Jazz 90.1. So what are some of the things you learned with your time with Liberace in terms of stagecraft and presenting to the audience? Because you're sitting and watching a master do his thing, but you get to see it behind the stage as well as in front of the stage. So what did you learn from Liberace in terms of creating an atmosphere for an audience?
Well, the ideas he had fabulous creative ideas, and I watched the show from every angle. I'd watch it from the wings, I watched it from the boxes, wherever I wanted to go in the theater, they just let me go wherever I wanted to. And so I learned that when he had an idea, there were lots of people that got behind him and executed it. And the more they executed it, like he did a Mozart medley on Mozart's piano with a duo from the New York City Ballet with the Dancing Waters. This was all at the same time. And that was like way before Cirque du Soleil. And Cirque du Soleil, if you've ever seen one, they have like 8 things going on at once. And he
Right.
wanted to he loved his listeners. He loved his fans. They were so embracing to all of us. And I learned that you just give everything you've got and then you give a little bit more. And I love doing that. I love playing for audiences. I love people embracing because they feel what you put out. If you put your heart and your soul into it, they get that and they feel you're reaching out to them and connecting. And so they come back to you, and it's a lovely dance that we inspire each other. So, the whole live thing, I do a live show once a week. It's a little odd because I can't see anybody, but I work on the chats, and it's like, I want everybody to show up and chat with me and go, hey, how are you? So that's what I'm getting right now. That's the feedback. And I just adore that and can't wait to go out and play live, more as things open up.
Speaking of Lisa Addeo, Lisa, talk about for you, how did you survive 2020 in terms of what did you learn about yourself during last year? Because so many people's lives were turned upside down, especially artists, where they couldn't do what they love to do, perform. So how did you survive it? What did you learn about yourself?
Well, initially it was just so odd thinking we're going to go out of the house and we're going to breathe the air and we're going to die. And then of course I stopped watching so much of the news and realized that wasn't so true, and went, you know what, damn the torpedoes. I'm going to sit at my piano, and I couldn't have my tuner come over because you just didn't, have space together with people. So I worked in my studio, and I started working at my grand more. And I realized that the running around that we do, you couldn't go out anywhere. So that was a little more relaxing to me, that I didn't have a list of things to do and get to the piano after all of that. So the piano and the music was kind of on the forefront of my to-do list. There are days now when I'm going out and doing stuff, and at the end of the day, I sit down and I do my live show, and I'm a little bit tired. It's like I've done so much today. So it made the music forefront, and it taught me to do that first. That's the most important thing to me is, besides exercising and having a quiet morning and quiet. I stay off the grid as long as I can, because I hear melodies. So I spent a lot of time, in the quarantining or alone or whatever you want to call it, and I really got to listen more to stuff that I hear in my head, and so I start writing more. So what I learned was I enjoy the quiet more than I thought I did. I like it even more now, and it gives me the opportunity to relax and allow whatever music comes to me, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. You, Lisa Addeo. Lisa, so as we were talking before we went on the air, we're an interesting jazz station because we play essentially the total experience in sound. We play straight ahead, we play contemporary, we play fusion, we play jam band stuff. We put it all in the mix, essentially. So for folks who are just learning about jazz, brand new to this, what advice would you give them?
I would say listen intently. What you're hearing are some of the best melodies ever written. You're hearing some of the best artists that executed those melodies and interpreted those melodies. So I would say if you're listening to, like Miles, for instance, listen to how he establishes the melody, then he goes back and he has his way with it. It's kind of the improvisation that is the artist speaking through their instrument. So instead of words in a conversation like you and I are having, it's a conversation with the instrument. So they're talking to you through their instrument. So listen with that in mind. I would say listen to the same song by different artists. You know, if you hear Lullaby of Birdland by Ella, or if you hear it by the Duke, or, you know, Oscar Peterson, listen to the same song by different artists and listen to how they interpret it. There's different feels, there's different tempos, there's different instruments that are, you know, conveying that story. So that's an interesting exercise. If you find a song you really love, go listen to it. You might have a vocal version of it, you might have an instrumental version of it, and compare. And you know, My Funny Valentine, it's been recorded 8,000 times. It's a beautiful melody. It's been recorded as an instrumental and and vocal. So check that out. Check it out in that way.
Speaking of Lisa Addeo on Jazz 90.1. Lisa, we're a public jazz station. As I said, we're out of a school district. So it's Jam Month, Jazz Appreciation Month. For folks, why should folks continue to support public radio, in your opinion? Stations like us.
Oh my goodness. I mean, public radio is where it's at. You guys bring some of the most some of the biggest gems of our genre to listeners that otherwise wouldn't hear it. If public radio didn't exist, oh my goodness, we wouldn't be getting the amazing programming that we get. You know, you bring such special jewels that are shimmering and shining. The way you guys love music and you research it and you find stuff and bring it to us and to the listeners, I mean, it's essential. It's essential. It's like oxygen. We need to have.
Wow, thank you. That's really kind of you to say that. Speaking of Lisa Addeo on Jazz 90.1, name of the new album is called Listen to This. Lisa, to learn more about you, where can folks go?
I'm sorry, what?
To learn more about you, where can they go? Website or social media, where can they go?
Oh, lisaaddeo.com, ADDEO. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, yada, yada, yada. Lisa Addeo. The whole thing. Lisa Addeo Music. You can listen to my music on my website or Amazon, all the, online distributors, iTunes, Spotify. So yeah, I'm everywhere.
And last question. I hear rumor has it you're a pretty good golfer.
You know what? Sometimes I'm really, really, really good, and sometimes I'm really, really, really bad. So, and just when you think you have it figured out and you go, this is easy, I can do that, the next shot brings you to your knees, So, I
think you play golf.
You what? You play golf?
No. For me, it'd be good walk spoiled. Quote Mark Twain. I throw the bags over the cliff if I play golf.
It's definitely humbling. It's definitely something you have to keep practicing. The more you practice, the better you are. And you have a good moment or two, and that's what keeps you coming back. It's kind of like, maybe good artists. If you're discovering a new artist and you hear one song and you like it, you keep coming back for more, waiting for that next good shot. I had a hole in one once, and that was very exciting.
What?
So yeah, I was relaxed. I was relaxed, and the ball went up. It was a pretty shot. It wasn't one of those ugly ones that skim across the, the ground.
Hit a tree and a rock and
it gets in the hole. Yeah. This was like, it went up, it went down, it went straight in the hole. And, you're not supposed to, you never throw your clubs. I threw my club up in the air like I just won Wimbledon. I went, oh my God. To do that. But being out in nature, I mean, it's gorgeous. One song I wrote when I was on the golf cart. Touch Me in the Night. I wrote the lyrics to Touch Me in the Night. Every time you touch me, baby, you always do it right. And that's a song I wrote with Niels. And I was listening to it and, golfing, and then you have a little time to listen in between. And that's what came to me. And the girls are looking at me going, what are you smiling about? And I said, I just came up with some great lyrics.
Play on. Come on, Lisa.
I know, just shut up and putt.
Oh, man. Speaking of Lisa Addeo, name of the album is called Listen to This. And again, to learn more about it, Lisa Addeo, ADDEO.com. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.